evening. This is Hannah Klein. Welcome to my podcast, Hannah Klein's Time. Before starting my podcast, I created a buy me coffee site. You could buy me a glass of wine from there and make donations, or you could be a monthly subscriber on my Substack and support me. I really appreciate if you could support my work. By the way, today's guest is Adam Fox. He has been dedicated to many activism for his cause. And I had many questions about why he decided to involve in I have to say, for the Jewish people, and Jew hatred, which is one of the activism he was involved. However, beyond that, it's not just because a person is a Jew that I respect all the time. I respect a person because I respect a person. And, Adam shared also anti-Semitism, and I finally started to understand what kind of anti-Semitism the Japanese media are probably facing. And probably, I would say, this is going to be the last time if I ever think of them as the people who are to listen. Otherwise, I'm sorry. I cannot take it anymore. Anti-Semitism is not something like what probably the media personality is thinking. And it's not an excuse. I'm sorry to say this before our conversation, but it is not an excuse that the situation in Gaza is not the Holocaust. Okay. These people, the media, need to understand what is going on. And actually, this is something I discussed with Nirvana, who helps me. Well, she's not involved in the media so much. Well, she's not involved. She's just a student, and I hope that you all don't get her personally. She's a very nice person, friendly, and also, please don't take Adam personally. He is honestly saying what he did and also what he decided to be dedicated to, and I'm truly honored to invite him. So please listen to our conversation. It was recorded on the 23rd because it's 22nd in his time zone. Good morning, Adam. Finally.
It is a pleasure to be with you, Hannah. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's also my pleasure to have you on my podcast. I was so pleased that I could schedule and everything. Yeah. And I could invite you on my podcast, really.
Well,
Honest.
I'm excited for this conversation today.
Yes. It's not about, it's really myself, honoring, the Jewish people, and also, not just about the Jewish people being Jewish, but, Jewish people and the humanity.
Mhm.
So,
Yes, it's something that is as much as we like
mhm,
to do amazing things in this world, we don't do it for the attention. We don't do it for self-interest. We do it because it's the right thing to do. A lot of Jewish people embrace tikkun olam, which is repair the world.
mhm,
So each of us finds a path in our journey how we can repair this world through it's the
mhm,
DACA, which is charity, through volunteer, through our passions to make the world a better place. That
mhm.
is a value of the Jewish people, and one of the reasons why I love being part of this community, because we ask ourselves every day, what can we do to make the world a better place, not what the world can do for us.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. And you know what? I would like to ask, your activism after, but before that, if you could probably explain your background, that would be really appreciated.
Absolutely. Well, I was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona. That's the hot southwest desert of the United States. It was a middle class Jewish family. I grew up in a small business, middle
Mhm.
class. We owned a small business of eyeglass stores. So if you have any questions about that, I could definitely answer too. Uh,
That would
uh,
be great.
yeah. So yeah, growing up, being Jewish was already a big thing for me. I remember as early as second, third grade, experiencing first cases of anti-Semitism with my elementary school peers. They
Wow,
were saying
really?
already I was going to go to hell for being Jewish, and they shared what was then kind of false perceptions of what Jewish people were. So, as an elementary student, I was already one, solidifying my identity as a proud Jew, but also because of the anti Semitism. And really, you can argue if they're that young, it's just more ignorance. Don't know where they got it from, but it still inspired me to already want to learn more about what it means for me to be Jewish. So I remember being pretty active in synagogue life. And middle school, my bar mitzvah, January 31st, 2004, I'll always remember the date. It was still the best day of my life, accepting the responsibility of being a Jewish adult in this world. So
Wow.
beyond, yeah, so beyond that, I got involved with a Jewish youth group in high school called the B'nai B'rith Youth Organization. It's a international organization for Jewish teens to
Mm.
really get involved in Jewish life. And there's not so much a religious aspect to it, but there still was there, but as a way to connect with fellow Jewish teens in your city, state, across the country and world. And it really inspired me to take Jewish life to my next step in college. So I
Wow.
went to Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Mm. I see.
Beautiful city, beautiful college. My heart is still there. And right away, I remember going to my very first Jewish event there. It was hosted by Chabad at NAU, co hosted with Hillel at NAU. And I knew going to that event, the rabbi there, Rabbi Dovi Shapiro, who later became my mentor and like a father figure, brother figure, he just embraced me. The Jewish students there who were not already freshmen, were already welcoming me. And I was already connecting with all the Jewish freshmen. So it was like this was already the path for me to say I love being part of Jewish life, and no matter where I am, I want to be part of it. So I went through my 4 years, and despite everything that I did outside of my Jewish life, I was elected to my school's student government as a senator. I was involved with the Criminal Justice Honor Society. I
Wow.
was heavily involved in politics, including doing internship in Congress and doing several campaign related activities. The core of what made me proud to go through college was being part of Jewish life. The Friday nights, going to the rabbi's house for Shabbat dinners, going to the high holiday events and the other social events, having my roommates be the fellow Jewish peers that I've met through Chabad. it was such a phenomenal experience that even though I graduated with degrees in political science and criminology and criminal justice, so I have two bachelor's
Really?
degrees.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, those are academically were my interest. But when I left NAU, when I graduated,
Mm-hmm.
I first went to DC, got
Mm-hmm.
involved with the nonprofit as an intern, and it just wasn't clicking.
Wow.
My heart wasn't in it. Like my brain was, but my heart wasn't. And it
Wow.
took a few months, and I remember my one of my closest friends from college
Mm.
told me, hey, go look at jewishjobs.com. And I'm like, jewishjobs.com? There's a whole thing for just Jewish professionals looking for Jewish jobs. And that opened my eyes. And that began what was
Mhm.
now, since I graduated, a decade-long career with Jewish nonprofits. So I ended up with three different Hillels at the University of Arizona, University of Iowa, and then most
Oh,
recently I was the Jewish Student Life Director for Colorado State Hillel, and that
wow.
falls under Hillel of Colorado. Huge shout out to them. They're doing amazing work. And I got working for two JCCs, and
Mm.
this goes back to high school and college when I worked the summer camps in Tucson at the JCC there. But then I
Mm.
also followed my huge mentor. His name
Mm.
is Scott Zorn, rest in peace, to
Wow.
Akron, Ohio, at the JCC there, where was the youth program coordinator, and then I also was the city director for the Akron BYO there. I worked for
Wow.
Chabad, so I went
Mhm.
back to my alma mater, worked for Rabbi Shapiro, doing student engagement, and we saw a record amount of students come to all of our events, just like Hillel. And each stop, we saw an increase in engagement because that was my role, was to bring more Jewish students to our events and to our activities. And
Wow.
I've done quite a bit of volunteer work. When I was back in Tucson, I spent a year coaching youth at the Sunday basketball league
Mm.
for the JCC. I volunteered for a senior care facility that's Jewish focused called Handmaker in Tucson.
Wow.
So yeah, so really, uh, it was all about my
Very, very.
experiences that just brought me all into wanting to be this Jewish professional. So
Yeah.
that kind of brought me to where we're at now.
Yeah, wow. I just didn't want to interrupt you, but it's so outstanding and it's so wonderful that you are dedicated to what you believe, you know, and also it's not, because of, your probably, where you belong to, but it's also I guess that, you're very dedicated. I
Well,
really, really feel,
well, thank you, and I got to give a huge credit to my mother and father, the best two
oh,
people in the world, because no matter what I was doing in my early childhood, and I was big in basketball. I played all 4 years of my high school. I was already involved in politics. I had so many other extracurricular activities, and through all of that, there were moments where it was just too much for me. But
mm,
my parents always stood by my side. They always supported everything that I did, and especially when I made at the time, a difficult decision to not pursue my degrees, but pursue Jewish nonprofit and Jewish activism, which doesn't necessarily pay. It just, it fulfills for me to Kunulam. So for me to take that sacrifice, they were there to support me 100% unconditionally for me to go down that route. And so
oh,
without them,
wow.
none of this would have been possible.
Wow. It's so, so just, I'm so impressed with, what you do, and also I have heard of, some of, of your ancestor story, and if you could, share your ancestor story, that would be
Mhm.
great. Isn't
Absolutely. So, yeah, and for your viewers to know, I'm 100% Jewish. Both my mother and father are
mm,
100% Jewish, and we can trace them all back to where we originated from, which I will say for the Jewish people is the land of Israel. But
wow.
more
Yeah.
recently is on my father's side, they came from what's modern day Belarus.
Oh.
And my mother's side, they came from what's Russia, but they
Oh.
all fled. My ancestors at that time in the 1800s, early 1800s, was the pogroms. And for your viewers, the pogroms are a systematic murdering,
Oh, yeah.
violence,
Horrible. Yeah.
segregation, and dehumanization of Jewish people throughout
Mhm.
Europe.
Yeah.
And pogroms are the chief message of them to the countries and those kingdoms, because it was all across Europe that they told their citizens was
Mm.
that do not trust those Jews. They're not one of us. They're backstabbers. They don't belong here. They need to go back to where they came from. And it's okay to be violent with them. So both my ancestors fled that, and like thousands and millions of others fled Europe to America. Many went to Israel, but what's now modern day when they made their aliyahs. We can go over that later. But my folks or my ancestors came to America,
Mm.
and that has always been a reminder to me,
Mm.
or when I first learned this about what anti-Semitism does to the Jewish people, forces us to flee.
Yeah. It.
And because it was so
Mm.
systematic, because it was so evil and violent, that it really began the depopulation of European Jewry. There was still a lot left,
Yeah.
leading up to World War II, but many had already fled it. And there was a big incident called the Dreyfus Affair in France in the
Mm.
mid to late 1800s, when a French Jewish officer was falsely accused
Yes.
of pretty much treason, backstabbing the French uh, government and country, even though there was
Mhm.
no evidence that he did it. But it was mainly because he was Jewish, and it was easy to blame him for the economic turmoil in that country. And that actually created the necessity finally for the Jewish people to wake up and say, you know what? Everyone's telling us we need to go back where we came from. Well, where did the Jewish people come from? We're indigenous to the land of Israel. And
Yes.
so I know I'm kind of going off on the end, the nothing much to do with my ancestors with that, but it was very important to share that right now, just because the combination of the pogroms and the Dreyfus
Yeah.
affair
It's
both affected my
horrible.
family and millions of others of Jewish families.
Yeah, like pogroms, it's so heartbreaking. And I have met some of the people whose ancestor went through pogroms. They never want to share, some of them never want to share their ancestor stories, really.
Yeah. Well, look, it's the pogroms are just one of many in the thousands of years of Jewish history, of
Mm.
us being persecuted, of us
Yeah,
being systematically murdered, tortured,
yes.
segregated, dehumanized, treated as inferior to animals, even.
Mm.
So even before the pogroms, right, the Jewish people living outside the land of Israel, like being expelled from there in 76 AD,
Mm.
we ultimately had to return back to the homeland because of the thousands of years of persecution. We even prayed for thousands of years to return to the homeland.
Yes.
So whether or not we're Jewish in Israel or
Mm.
outside of Israel, all the thousands of years of anti-Semitism necessitates the desire and need for us to have the Jewish state, the place we're indigenous to, which is Israel. So even as a Jew in America, I
Mm.
go by this famous saying from Elie Wiesel, a Holocaust survivor, that we can be Jews outside of Israel, but we
Mm.
can't be Jews without Israel.
Yeah. You know, um, from your story now, I I little understand what the Japanese journalists mean by I'm sorry to say this, here, but a lot of people say that the Jewish people went through the Holocaust, but what they're doing now is against Gaza is the Holocaust. Like it doesn't make sense to me at all. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's horrible to say in the first place because I really started to understand that the Japanese majority of the Japanese do not seem to understand anti-Semitism properly. I mean, this is a real problem, really.
Yeah, so you're bringing up some very good points here. Uh, we'll go back to our tragedy, the Holocaust. More than 6 million Jews, murdered
That is
by the
horrible.
most
Yeah.
evil regime in modern or almost any history, Nazis. And of course, they murdered others, millions of others. But for the Jewish people and the Jewish population, it was devastating.
Yeah.
And that really kicked the need for us to say to the world, we told you, we need Israel. We need the Jewish state. We need the country of our own. So even leading up, the decades before the Holocaust, Zionism was about returning to the land of Israel. We made waves, what's called Aliyah, the right to return.
Yes.
And even before the establishment of Israel, pre-World War II, the Arab populations there were very welcoming. And by the time it was the Ottoman Empire, and after that, after World War I, it was British-controlled mandated Palestine.
Yes.
And by the way, for your viewers to understand, it was the Romans that designated the land called Palestine to separate Judea and Samaria and arrest Israel away from the Jewish people. So if anyone wants to know where the word Palestine came from, it comes from the Romans. They were the ones to designate it. And between them kicking us out and through to the end of the Holocaust and the UN partition in 47 and 48, it was controlled by several different empires. But none of it, which was the Palestinians. And even after the Holocaust, when the UN did the partition, granted 2 states for 2 people, the Jewish state of Israel and an Arab state of Palestine for the Palestinians that were there. The Jewish people accepted it. We embraced the 2-state solution. We accepted peace right there.
Yes.
It was the Arab nations around that said, don't worry, to the Palestinian population, just hang tight. We reject the state of Israel, and we're going to fight them and make sure that it doesn't exist. And despite being outnumbered 100-1, the Jewish people persevered, and now we have the state of Rome. But going back to your, the comparison, this is the big thing. The October 7th was the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Over 1,200 murdered, and they were murdered in the worst of ways. Grenades were thrown at us. We were beheaded. Heads were cut off.
Yes.
Babies were put in ovens. Right, people were shot point blank. Women were raped. Many were mutilated. Hundreds were kidnapped. Thousands were injured. And it wasn't, and it was an attack on all of Israel. It wasn't just Jewish people, right? There, Arab Israelis were murdered and kidnapped. And Arab Israelis are Muslim and Christian and Druze and Bedouin and all different kinds of minorities, which Israel embraces.
Yes.
It's a good Jewish population with a good minority, all equal. So October 7th was literally a day of a Holocaust that Hamas committed, backed by Iran, and immediately Hezbollah launched rockets. The Houthis soon entered. So all of a sudden, there was this multi-front war on Israel.
Yeah, on August 8th.
7th. Yeah. So this was the genocide. It was against us, perpetrated by Hamas and terrorists, all backed by Iran, sponsored by Qatar and Turkey. And so to any country, and I will say this to Japan, to all the people there, if your homes were all of a sudden, your communities, your friends, your loved ones, all of a sudden you found out that they were beheaded.
Yes.
All of a sudden you found out they were put into ovens and burned alive.
Yes.
And the equivalent, Israel's a small country with a small population. I haven't done the numbers of the equivalency, but if it was 1,200 Israelis, the equivalent for Japan could be like, 5 figures. It would be just like more than
horrible.
Could be like 50, the equivalent to like 100,000 maybe of Japanese civilians dying that way. How would you respond? If your mother was kidnapped, your father was, shot in the head point blank, and then a sword was used to cut off the head. How would any of them feel, and how would they want their country to respond? And so, since October 7th, Israel has responded very proportionally and the goal is to finally eliminate those who seek the destruction of the state of Israel. It's 8 million Jewish residents. It's 2 million minorities, majority of whom are Muslim. who
Exactly.
stand with and support Israel. And anything that comes out there that shows, the figures. Look, nobody cherishes death. When we hear about innocent lives
Yeah.
being killed, doesn't matter what side, it's terrible. Women, children, innocent boys, men, anybody. But we
Exactly.
have to remember who's responsible for all of this, right?
Exactly.
Hamas did not release any of the hostages that they could have right away to prevent the conflict. But when Hamas puts out casualty numbers, the world believes it without actually doing their due diligence and researching. In fact, late last year, Andrew Fox from the Henry Jackson Society came out with this groundbreaking publication that showed that tens of thousands of deaths that Hamas previously put out there, they know the world would be outraged with the high numbers,
Mm.
was not accurate. They had to retract tens of thousands of deaths. Hamas labels, they don't distinguish between fighters and civilians. And then when fighters do die, they try to claim that they were women or children or civilians.
Yeah,
And yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Hamas also, they prevented the aid from getting to the Palestinians.
Hmm.
So they pretty much infiltrated UNWRA, UNWRA.
Oh, I just cannot tolerate that organization, you know, just that organization made me so angry 10 years ago. I just cannot tolerate that organization.
Oh, absolutely. They're and the problem is that they've existed for decades
Mm,
and they've actually helped, and I would say I put help in quotations because it's not actually good help, but
mm,
they are responsible for the continued
mm,
suffering of the Palestinian people, especially in Gaza. Israel decided in 2005 and 6 to disengage from it. We gave the Palestinians an opportunity to have complete autonomy over Gaza
yeah,
and turn it into, a place where we could eventually, establish two states with. But what
yeah,
happened?
exactly.
Hamas won the election. They ousted Fatah in a bloody civil war.
Mhm.
And between then and now, billions of aid from America and throughout and the rest of the world, Hamas stole. It was meant to the
Definitely.
Palestinians, and they kept it for themselves. And they started infiltrating UNWRA. So at UNWRA schools, Hamas became the principals and teachers. At UNWRA aid distribution centers, they controlled every aspect of that. And that's where they withheld all the aid. So they kept it for themselves and prevented Palestinians from truly getting the food, water, and
Yes,
medicine and
exactly.
oil that they needed. And UNRWA controls, at any residential
Mm,
complex or a religious institution.
mm,
Hamas, UNRWA, all of them, they stored weapons. They launched terrorist attacks from there. They disguised themselves as UNRWA employees and civilians. I mean, Hamas is really pure evil, and UNWRA, by them infiltrating it and then them doing nothing to push back against Hamas, it
yeah.
has become the biggest joke
Mm,
in terms of what the world can do to actually help the Palestinians. Because, for example,
mm.
since October 7th, when it was UNRWA controlled aid, so little of it went to the Palestinians. Hamas made sure of that.
Yeah.
The Gazan suffering, Hamas knew would make Israel look bad, and the world would go and blame Hamas. So what
Mm,
did Israel do? Well, they had enough of Hamas starving their own people, so
mhm.
they started the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation,
Yeah.
and I think now more than 130 million meals. Just
Mm,
for your viewers to know, 130 more million meals have now gone directly to Palestinians. And despite Hamas threatening and actually murdering volunteers and Palestinians who are trying to get that aid,
yeah.
Israel and the GAF are making sure that they get the food, water, and medicine that
Yeah.
they deserve. So at the end of it, there is no genocide that Israel's committing on the Palestinian people. If there was genocide, the population of Gaza would have gone down. Well, it still goes up. And if there was a genocide of the Palestinians, there would be no continued desire for Israelis to seek peace. And all of Israel, that's all they want. Israelis and us Jews, we don't want war. We have no problem against
Yeah.
any human being. We
Mm.
have a problem when any group of people and anyone wants to destroy us for who we are.
Yes, exactly. That's true. And You know what? Um, I have seen some of the books, which were found in Gaza, denying, the Holocaust. And, you know, that moment, I realized how angry I would be to really actually see, people denying the Holocaust. I did not, I'm not very emotional most of the time, but this was something I just could not forgive.
Hmm.
Really. Never.
Yeah, Holocaust denial is it's despite this being the most well documented crime ever, recorded in human history. The most recorded genocide, the mass murdering of people. The evidence is just vastly overwhelming. The videos, the firsthand testimony, the, I mean, the fact that there's so much of the world,
Yeah.
even before we're dealing with what we've learning now about what's being taught at Gazan schools
Yeah.
was atrocious, and it's a reminder to the Jewish people, here and around the world, that education is going to be ever so important. It's why we have Holocaust museums, memorials,
Mm.
and more than just the places that the Jewish people are really living in high numbers,
Yes.
because we need the world to know the
Yeah.
true horror of the Holocaust, what led up to it, why the Jewish people were targeted,
Yeah.
and what happened in all the camps,
It's
from
scary.
Auschwitz to
Yeah.
Dachau to all of them and all the subcamps. So the schools in Gaza, now that you mention it,
Yeah.
Hamas, which again, they infiltrated the entire school system, right? They teach toddlers how to hold a rocket launcher. They teach them how to
That's
shoot
what I saw. Yeah. Yeah.
they teach them to shoot how to shoot rifles and
Yeah.
semi-automatic weapons. And they teach them how to build bombs. They teach them how to be suicide bombers.
Yes, exactly.
To be martyrs. And we're talking children. And
Mm.
then when you go into their textbooks, it all talks about all the anti-Semitic tropes
Yes,
about
it's
Jewish
about
people.
kill Jews, right?
Yep, yep. The Jews need to die. We eat the blood of Christ, and that's an age old trope.
Yep.
We eat the blood of the children. I mean, all of it, and they show in their textbooks just how animonic they are towards Jewish people. So for anyone who thinks that if Israel were just to stop and allow Gaza to go back to the way it was, well, Hamas is the one still controlling Gaza. Do they want that curriculum for the children to be taught that
Yes.
hate? In
Yeah.
Israel schools, they're taught to love.
Mm.
Israel schools are a combination of Jewish and Arab children who study side by side with each other, elementary, middle, high school. They go to college together. There is no, there, I mean, we're taught to love and embrace everybody. Well, Hamas is
Yeah.
teaching how to kill Jews and how to destroy the West. So
Yep.
globalized, phrases like globalized intifada,
Mm.
that's them saying that the world, it's not about just destroying Israel, because
Yeah.
that's already a big goal itself. They want to murder Jews, they want to murder Americans, they want to murder Westerners, they would murder Japanese
Exactly.
because they
Yep.
embrace Western values and Western democracy.
Exactly. I mean, Japanese seem to think that it's about some other place, but they want to destroy democracy, and that includes Japan, really. And
Yeah,
it's scary.
the
I mean,
core
it
of it is that
scares people.
yes, they would replace any sort of secular, thriving democratic society with
Yeah.
with how they would run Hamas or Gaza. And by the way,
This
so let's
ISIS style, like, scary, type of education,
hmm. Yeah, and for your viewers to know, for them saying, well, what was Gaza like under Hamas? Well, I already explained, the school part of that and the mosque and what Hamas does in the residential facilities, but they rule with the iron fist of death. I mean, if for women, for example, to embrace secularism, they'll throw stones at the women.
Yeah,
Yeah, right, and
yeah,
they'll if they catch a kid stealing a candy bar, they'll cut off to that person's fingers. They'll cut off legs. They'll torture. They'll tie people up and hang them upside down. They'll falsely accuse opponents of them of being spies for Israel, and they'll tie their legs to the bed of a truck, and then they'll kill them by driving the truck. I mean, they had the most, and if you're LGBTQIA,
yeah, exactly.
they'll throw you off buildings.
Mm.
They'll
And
take you to the top and throw you off.
See, LGBTQ people are honored in Israel, okay, not in Gaza, for God's sake.
Yes, and in fact, if you're the only country in that whole region where you can be a member of the LGBTQIA community and not face daily systematic threats of your life is in Israel. There's, and there's between the gay pride parades, there's been the speaker of Knesset was a previous one was the member of the community, and he's actually, in fact, he's part of the Likud party. Yes. Right. So that community is warmly embraced in Israel, and I'm proud of that. And as an American Jew, I am proud that my community as a whole embraces the equality of the LGBTQIA community, because no one's identity should be a factor in whether or not they live or die, right? Like, no matter who you are, no matter what religion, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what background you are, no matter how you identify, that should not define whether, your status in society. As MLK said, you need to judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, not by things that we can't control.
Exactly. I totally agree. And just going back to October 7th, I have, had conversation with, Nova Music Festival's victims. And, it's very, very difficult for me to say, like, like a news. I mean, I cannot forgive Hamas. I'm sorry. And also,
there's never a reason to feel sorry for or to accept Hamas. I mean, they recorded all their atrocities. I mean, they from GoPros to phone cameras, they recorded all this, and they went into that Nova Music Festival, young people just celebrating and having a great time, and it turned into horror. And just watching the executions and the kidnappings just from the Nova Festival alone, and this before we even get to all the footages we get from the kibbutzes, it's utterly heartbreaking. And those who oppose Israel's actions since then need to watch all that Hamas recorded on October 7th, because if it happened and tell themselves, if it happened in my community, I would want my country to do what Israel is doing. Israel is committed to the destruction of Hamas, terrorist organization. It's committed to the destruction of Hezbollah, a terrorist organization. It's committed to the destruction of the Houthis, a terrorist organization. It wants Iran to never have the nuclear weapons that it made a promise to, that it for decades to destroy the Jewish state. At no point do the Jewish people around the world or Israelis say, hey, that's not good enough, we need to kill civilians now. No. What people need to understand is that our enemies, if we would say that we have it, are the terrorists, are those that wanted to kill us. Because again, we don't embody any sort of value that would lead to the loss of an innocent person's life. If nobody wanted to destroy the Jewish people, if nobody wanted to destroy the Jewish state of Israel, there would be no reason for Israel to do any sort of defense of its people, right? To have the Israeli Defense Force, to
no reason, there's no reason.
But as long as the Jewish people have been around before Israel and now with Israel, there are always going to be, and as it's clear, there's always going to be people that want to kill us and murder us, which is why Israel has the IDF, so its brave men and women can defend the homeland. And again, it's not just the 8 million Jews, it's the 2 million Israeli Arabs that are Muslim, that are Christian, that are Druze, that are Bedouin. Again, Israel is the one true flourishing democracy in the
Yes.
Middle East. And of course, like all democracies, there's always some problems. But Israel is amazing because it works itself out. It always balances it out.
Yes.
And the fact that you can be a Muslim in Israel and you can be a judge on the Supreme Court, you
Yep.
can be a member of the government, you can be a
Yes.
politician, you can be a business owner, uh,
Exactly.
right? You can run. In fact, the largest bank, in Israel, has
Yep.
been, yeah, like Israeli Arabs run it. I mean, so you can be anybody in Israel and have the same equal chance of society, whether or not you're Jewish or Arab.
Yeah.
So that kind of really goes against the apartheid argument, because if there was apartheid in Israel, Israeli Muslims wouldn't
Yeah.
have any of those rights. They wouldn't have any of a chance of upward mobility in society. But because we as Jewish people embrace everybody and equality, that we give everybody a chance. So by having the Jewish state,
Yeah.
Arabs actually have even greater opportunities to provide for their families and hold any job that they desire than in actual Arab countries themselves.
Exactly. And I was learning Hebrew before October 7th. And when, 1 month before October 7th, UNRWA Chief Lazzarini, he came to Japan and said, UNRWA is going to operate in Japan and in East Asia. I mean, it's not necessary. And like,
Mhm.
I was so angry, and I started to remember about Aura. I was so angry. I just tried to forget about it. And then, I remembered about Aura. And, I saw Twitter, never appears because I blocked it 10 years ago. But,
Mhm.
but it's something that I just cannot forgive. And also, the Japanese Prime Minister um, compared, you know, um, uh, the Japanese, during World War II to the Gazans. I'm sorry. Could you
Yeah,
stop it? You know what?
yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's
Those comparisons obviously are very disturbing and unacceptable because
right.
of because all the suffering in Gaza, Hamas has spent 20 years building underground tunnels, preparing for this kind of war
Yeah.
in which they knew that they can embed themselves in civilian populations, use Gazans as human shields from the women to the children,
Yeah.
and even themselves kill directly their quote unquote own people. And all they had to do was blame Israel and just put it out there. And then much of the world just immediately picks up that propaganda line and says, "Oh, yep, all right, great. Israel's killing all these people. They're committing genocide." And that is a battle that we're still facing because people still believe Hamas. They still believe in what's the root cause of the pain that Gazans endure. I mean, again, Israelis and Jews around the world, we don't want innocent Gazans to suffer. We want them to have the same opportunities of a good life like we do. But that can only happen with the complete elimination and disappearance of the evilness of Hamas.
Yeah, evilness of Hamas. I actually invited Dr. Anat Wealth, and what we discussed is this, the Palestinianism, this intention, evil intention to kill the Jews. You know, uh,
Mhm.
I mean that we need to coexist as
Mhm.
humans, right?
Yep, exactly. And again, Israelis want to live peacefully with its neighbors, whether or
Yeah,
not it's the Palestinians on either side of the border, whether it's the Jordanians, the Egyptians, the Lebanese, the
exactly.
Syrians, the Iranians.
Yes.
Again, if no one had a problem with the Jewish people in Israel, we wouldn't have a problem with anybody in return.
No. No.
It's when people want to destroy the Jewish state, they want to murder Jews, and they want to wipe Israel off the mat. Do we have to actually defend ourselves? Because if we don't, we've seen it. Israel is going to get attacked. Jews are going to get attacked. If we don't try to combat anti-Semitism, and I hope we can end with kind of the work I'm doing now, which includes combating this evilness of Jew hatred. If we don't do anything about that, it's going to get worse. anti-Semitism, it will flourish across this country and the world. And we're going to be in a situation again where the Jewish people are really fighting for our right to exist. But again, I guess we've been doing that ever since we've existed. But we want to make sure that it doesn't get worse. It wants to get better. So that's why, like, after years of not working in nonprofits, whether it was the Hillels, the Chabads, the JCCs, I just become more of a Jewish activist. And I've spent the last 1 year plus working on a number of things that combats anti-Semitism, that goes after the hatred of the Jewish people, that promotes a vibrant and thriving Israel, thriving Jewish communities, especially here in America. So I'm very proud to be doing that. I'd love to kind of share a little bit about what I'm doing with that.
And also, you are involved in Project Max too, right?
So what? Yes, and so I'll start with the groups that I am working with, and one of them is Project Max, started by my really great friend Eric Rubin.
Yes.
And Project Max, yeah, terrific guy. And I know you had the chance to
yes, he's
on your
a
podcast.
wonderful man.
he's a mensch. I love Eric. And we first connected, I think through sports, but the Jewish angle to it, I think, was really the driving force behind our collaboration. But Project Max combats racism, anti-Semitism, and intolerance through love of sports.
Yes.
What better way to bring people together than a game of basketball or a game of football or soccer or something that is any community. You'll find people that love games, that love sports. And so Project Max, one of the chief things is we have a number of ambassadors. A lot of them are former professional athletes, but we're now getting some current ones. And they'll speak to those three things: the racism, anti-Semitism, intolerance. Whether or not we send them to Israel to see the communities firsthand there, the diverse communities, or whether or not they're here in America talking to their own people and to their followers about their journeys, about their stories, and about our mission in general. But that's one way we can combat, in part, anti-Semitism is to show that we can use sports to bring people together. We can have basketball clinics where Jewish teens and Muslim teens and Christian teens, and everybody can be part of the same camp because they're doing the same drills, and everybody realizes that, hey, we love this thing together. Why do people hate each other over their religion or over the color of their skin or any other identity? Like, we're here, we are playing the same game, and we are having the same good time together. So Project Max has achieved so much. The number of ambassadors we've sent to Israel. In October, there's going to be a Jewish National Fund conference, and Eric is bringing, and we actually have two speakers confirmed to that: Eddie Curry and Nick Lowry. Nick is the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Famer, and Eddie Curry is an NBA champ winning basketball player. They're both retired, but they're both been really good advocates to Project Max. But yeah, and the organization is going to expand and get bigger, and through sports. And I encourage everybody, who is involved in any extracurricular activity, remember what it was like to be involved with it, and then knowing that everyone around you came from a different background. And that is the purpose of this, is that we're using sports to eradicate and combat those three things: the racism, anti-Semitism, and intolerance. So that's the Project Max angle. Another group I'm collaborating with, an amazing group called End Jew Hatred. And what I love about them, EJH, is that it's a nonpartisan, non-political advocacy group that seeks to liberate the Jewish people from the darkness of Jew hatred and anti-Semitism. So the willingness to work with both Republicans and Democratic elected officials and party members is critical. And that's another point I definitely want to emphasize in all my experience. If there's one thing I chiefly want to message out to people, is that, yes, right now it may appear that the issue of anti-Semitism in America is a partisan issue, and at times it can be. But what it needs to be long term is the hatred of the Jewish people, and the efforts to combat that need to be nonpartisan or bipartisan. It needs both political parties, its elected officials, and its leaders to come together and say, we do not accept, we do not tolerate any targeting, any hatred towards Jewish Americans, and we need to accept that both that they are proud Americans and
Mm.
that mainstream American Jews support the state of Israel. It's in our blood. It's what we pray for thousands of years in the diaspora to return to the homeland. We're indigenous to them. If anybody supports indigenous rights and wants to, and are all for decolonization,
Mm.
well, Zionism is the most successful decolonization movement in the history of the world because it brought
I
together
believe
millions
so,
of people back to their homeland. It's no longer colonized. The indigenous people are in their indigenous land. So Andrew Hatred really does a phenomenal job bringing both sides together. And I've done a number of events and stuff to achieve that. And
yeah.
and another
I
thing I'm
hear
working
you.
on, um, and to that note, I just started a Jewish advisory group to my sitting member of Congress. His name is Congressman Juan Ciscomani. We're creating a first ever Jewish advisory group to share Jewish life with a member of Congress to increase the relationship that elected officials have, especially federal, with their Jewish communities. And we have an amazing ally in Juan Ciscomani. He's an incredible elected official who's deeply committed to
Wonderful.
protecting and
Yeah.
defending his Jewish community. And the goal is to really make that more widespread in the years to come, so that every elected official, as many as possible, has a working relationship with the Jewish community. That's vital for the future of the community here in America, is to have those who are passing laws, enacting them, to be supportive of this community. And the only way we do that is through dialogue and through education.
Yeah. It's just so impressive that, everything that I hear is just so impressive. I made you speak so much, but, I really, really am pleased that, you shared a lot of stories and, like you're very positive, you're very strong in spirit, and also you're very dedicated, yeah, I wish I were like, I really,
Well,
I
look,
really wish I
there's
could.
some, you spoke to actually some really core basic values of, to me, of what it is for me to be Jewish. You need to have a ruach. Ruach is Hebrew for spirit. You need to have chutzpah. You need to have this kind of like dog and fight in you
Oh,
to want to wake up every day and say, yes, there's evilness around the world. The
wow.
attacks on Jewish people. I could wake up knowing that today, later in the day, there could be another horrific act of violence against us. But we can't be deterred. We can't let it. We can't abide by it. We have to do something. We have to act. And so that's why, I transitioned from nonprofit to activism, at least for now, is
Mm.
because I know, like a Jewish nonprofit, it has amazing Jewish leaders that will always replenish themselves. There's always got to be a few people that take on the role of activism that is able to speak freely and to say things as they are. And that's what I believe I'm doing right now. So I encourage all your followers to also follow my social media account to really even learn even more about that. On X Twitter, I'm at
Where
the
is that?
Adam027. Again, that's at the Adam027.
Yes.
And
I
so,
will I will write it. Yeah. Write
oh,
your
wonderful.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
So right. So between Project Max, Andrew Hatred, uh, the Jewish Advisory Group, being on the Never podcast, I collaborate with a really good friend of mine and colleague, Rabbi Daniel Levine, on bringing Jewish issues to really the forefront as well on the platform, and going to my community and asking them what more can we do to support you, and what can I do.
Mm.
Another thing I've worked on is had a number of members of Congress. I'm working on my second one, having to meet with the families of hostages being held
I
in
see.
Gaza. As well as a current, I guess someone who was released as a hostage. And that's something I just want to, in fact, stress right now, is that we still have 50 hostages being held by Hamas, a number living and a number dead. and we need to bring them all home.
Yes.
We need to get them all home. Whether or not it's to be embraced by their loved ones or the proper burial they deserve. But we need to get
Yes.
those remaining hostages home that Hamas is holding still. So, yeah. So between everything that,
Everyone deserves dignity, really. And
mhm.
I really want to honor every hostage's, dignity. And that's what I believe in my heart, really. And
Yeah.
also, some of my friends are involved in,
Mhm.
yeah, the activism, but they're actually Christians.
Yeah, no, and we love our non-Jewish allies. We have so many out there.
Yeah.
Continue using your voices. Continue using your activism and advocacy and collaboration with us to bring truth to light. And there's a big saying. This is from the Rebbe and from the Chabad movement, that a little light can dispel a whole lot of darkness. There's a lot of evilness in this world, but if we can just bring a little bit of light, the ripple effect on that is going to be humongous. So if you're out there and you support us, please do whatever you can do, however little, however big, to show your support for us. Make a social media post, or go attend a Jewish event, at a
Yeah.
local synagogue or shul, or a Chabad center or a JCC. Buy an Israeli flag and display it, or
Yep.
or donate to a Jewish charity,
Yep.
or go to Israel if you really. I mean, if you really want to see firsthand, and you don't know, if anybody who doesn't know just how beautiful and amazing Israel is and wants to see, all what I'm saying to be true, go to Israel.
Yep.
Go there and see firsthand that it is the most, amazing, democratic, diverse country that you may have ever thought you would have ever been to.
Mm.
And that would dispel all the myths, all the lies that
Exactly.
the anti-Zionists, that anti-Semites
Mm.
say about the Jewish state.
Yes, and finally referring from, your words, light, light will end anti-Semitism. Like
Yes.
we need heart, light in our heart, really.
Yep. The,
Mm.
the the
Mm.
light that we bring can dispel the darkness that
Yes,
anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism
we
bring.
should not, we should not live with hate. We just have to just throw away the hates.
Right. We need to love each other. We need to, we all share this world together.
Yeah.
And and for the Jewish people, we just want to live. That's
Yeah.
all. We don't have problems with anybody. We just want to, wherever we are, whether it's in America, Israel, Britain,
Exactly.
Germany, France,
Yeah.
Mexico, or in the Arab world, we just want peace. We just want love. And that's why, for example, I love the Abraham Accords, because
Yeah.
it brought the Jewish people in Israel closer to peace with the world. In this case, Bahrain, Morocco, the UAE, which has led it, Sudan. Yeah, there's as much as there's still darkness in the world, there's a lot of light that we can still brighten, and we can expand the Accords. We can expand Project Max and sport and our love of sports to bring people together. We can
Yes.
bring political parties from the right and the left, not just America, but in the world,
Yeah.
wherever they are, together to support the Jewish community and to acknowledge and embrace Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. Those things are always going to be my chief goal to see happening.
Yes. You know what? I hope you come to Japan too.
You know what? It's I
I'm not
I
joking. You know what? You
yeah,
have
I'm
to
not.
tell, you have to talk about this really, like directly to the prime minister of this country, really.
Yeah, no,
Please
it's
do.
on my to-do list. I've, the pictures that I've seen, the people who I've spoken to from Japan,
Yeah.
the culture, the values,
Hmm.
uh, it's so amazing to have learned all that. And
Thank you
uh, and
so
and
much.
but I will admit too that there is still so much that
Mm.
I need to learn about Japanese culture and society.
Mm.
But Japanese Americans have made amazing contributions to this country. Japan is a great partner for both America and Israel for the most part. For since post World War II, and everyone who I met that is from that land, from your land, is just so embracing of me. When I say that I'm Jewish, they are like, "Oh, we love you." We want to talk to you more about that. So I know for a fact that your everyday Japanese loves me for who I am, embraces me, and wants to have peace with me. So I would love to return the favor one day, get myself to Japan, and see the culture, the beautifulness of your country firsthand.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you're American, Japan is the United States is the best ally of Japan. Yeah, but
Mhm.
above all, I have to appreciate that so many Jewish people have shared stories, with Japanese people, during difficult times. And I really, we should not be taking advantage of it, but I really appreciate, uh, people for sharing those stories, and it's a friendship.
Yes, and by the way, one of the righteous among the nations, which
Yeah.
are heroes who saved Jews, who made extraordinary efforts to save Jews during the Holocaust and World War II. One of them is a Japanese diplomat,
Yes.
Chiun Sugihara,
Yeah.
and he saved thousands. I think he worked for the Japanese in
Yes.
Lithuania, but
Yes. Yes. Right.
he forged documents to save thousands,
Yeah.
thousands, and he didn't do it for some selfish reason. He did it because of the kindness of his heart, and he knew it was the right thing to do, and he risked his own life,
Yeah.
and he's a hero to the Jewish people. So and uh,
You know,
between his efforts and all the others that Japan has shown for the Jewish people, we have you all to thank for having your support.
yes, but lastly, we appreciate, the Jewish people for remembering that. Really, really, really.
Oh yeah, we always will remember, and we will never forget. Right? We'll remember our allies. We'll never forget, though. The on the other side, those
Yeah.
that seek to destroy and hurt and kill, want to murder us.
Yes.
That's what the Holocaust. Never again.
Yeah.
And what Israel's doing, especially after October 7th, is just that. It's us saying never again. When the Jewish people told the world after World War II, and we had everyone's buy-in to say never again will the Jewish people suffer another atrocity like the Holocaust. Well, guess what? October 7th was that day that we had to
Exactly.
act on that phrase, never again. So for everybody who was saying for in those 6, 7, 8 decades, those words, well, now's the time to actually embrace that.
I believe so. I strongly believe so. And I think that I have to let you go. Like I made you speak so much, but I really appreciate you. I really, really appreciate you for sharing a lot of stories. And this podcast will be shared on Sunday afternoon Eastern Standard Time, and I will be posting the time beforehand. So,
Wonderful. Well, Hannah, I want to thank you for having me on your podcast. It was a great discussion. I hope all your viewers who are listening right now, I hope you took something away from this. You can follow me. I'd love to interact with you. Feel free to send me a message with any questions you might have about Jewish life, whether it's here in America, whether it's around the world, or any questions about Israel. I'll be more than happy to answer that. You can follow me just to learn more about what it means to combat anti-Semitism, what it means to support Jewish life and the Jewish people, and really the truth that about Israel, which is it is a thriving Jewish democratic society and country. And then the other side is what we're battling, which is the evilness of anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, and terrorism. And that is the goal for the Jewish people. It's just to live our lives
Yep.
and try to seek peace. That is our goal. That is our number one goal.
Yep. So, yes, I'm so grateful that I had you on my podcast. And yes, I'm just, yeah, I would like to invite you again. But, but yeah, it's,
I would love, I would love any opportunity to go even more, picking a topic to go over and really further educate people about an aspect of
that
Jewish
would
life.
be, yeah,
Or
that's so great. But yeah, I will post your X, so that people are able to follow you, and, a lot of, ideas of, combating anti-Semitism, what it means, for people, humanity,
yeah,
so yeah,
absolutely. It's a humanitarian mission. It should be a
yes,
worldwide goal to eradicate
yes,
anti-Semitism and anti-hatred. And no matter how naive I am in saying that, no matter how unrealistic it might appear, I will spend every waking moment for the rest of my life trying to make things better for my fellow Jewish community, for my fellow Americans, for Israel, and for peace and for the light. Because the battle against evil, the battle against the darkness of hate, requires us to never give up. And I will never give up that fight. I will continue on.
yes. And today is Friday. I have to say, it's early in the morning, but it's Shabbat. So
Mhm.
I have
Yeah.
to say, I'm sorry, it's early, but Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And in return, when somebody says Shabbat Shalom, we can either reply back with Shabbat Shalom, we can say Good Shabbos. And, for those who don't know, we mark our holidays by sundown to sundown. And we light Shabbat candles as we've done for
Yes.
thousands and thousands of years. We'll continue to always do that. And
Yes.
we'll have our challah, we'll have our gefilte fish,
Yeah.
and we'll have our meals, we'll have our families, and we have our good times. Shabbat is a day of rest. So for any of your followers too, if you want to spend, even if you're not Jewish, do something on a Saturday morning that's just relaxing. Spend 30 minutes to an hour or whatever with family. Go do something with friends. Do something that's relaxing. It's
Yeah.
your day to take your break from 6 days of work or however whatever you do for work. To not think about the stresses of life, but to embrace tranquility and to embrace calmness. And that's what I encourage. I think your followers to even just start. Take some
That's
time
true.
to self reflect
Yeah.
and and relax. Take a deep breath and do something enjoyable because we deserve happiness in life.
That's true. And I pray that you have peaceful Shabbat with your loved ones, your family. Really.
Thank you. Yep. Without family, I'm incomplete. So,
Oh,
I love my family, and
that's
I will.
sure.
Yep. And I will have my family here with me on this Shabbat. So, thank you very much.
Okay. So, have a good weekend, and I pray for your Shabbat.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for having me on, and you have a great weekend as well.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
I hope that many people understand some of uh my values too, in addition to Adam's dedication. I mean, he has been dedicated not just as a Jew, but I think as a human in many sense, in many ways. We there is no point there is a point in looking at him as a Jew, of course. Respect him, respect his religion. However, at the same time, um, I respect his humanity, and I see his humanity all the time when I speak with him. And referring to a pogrom, I have spoken with some people about their ancestors' stories, but they never want to share in public. And I am not selling out people's stories. However, I hope that people understand how much pain the Holocaust was, and how much pain the October 7th was. It was so painful to me. I did not expect myself having that much pain. However, it was so painful. It was not just sad. It was a torture to me. And a lot of people went through such a horrific experience on October 7th. And I hope that that experience, that day, and after that, there has been multiple front wars happening in Israel, and Israel did not provoke anything. And I just do not understand the Japanese media explaining the resistance, the final resistance of the Palestinians. Oh, really? Then you know what? What they're saying is that, oh, so they are a bunch of criminals. They are proving that they are providing the information to the public that actually the Palestinians planned a group-oriented, I have to say, systematic murder against the Jews. Well, that's partly true, and that's mainly true because of UNRWA. And you know what? This is not the main story here, but it was painful to Adam as well, as a Jew. It was hurtful. That day was so painful to many people, Adam's friend as well. And I hope, well, he is always positive. And I remembered something very important from his words, to be honest. Actually, with my grandmother, she never said something really hateful, like cursing against someone. And especially, well, she was talking about Israel when I was little. And that was one of my main influence towards probably impression towards the Jewish people as well. And in addition to that, I had a grandfather-like person who was corresponding me the whole time. However, it's not something that I learned in the history textbook about the Jewish people. And one very big thing, yes, Adam said, you know, I just said it, and actually it turned out to be what probably was what I needed from people, like needed in my heart, what the Jewish people gave me, the Jewish people who were involved gave me in my heart, was courage. Okay? And that is one important lesson, I have to say, I learned from him. And you know what, I had to record this podcast, you know, for many reasons, and I pray that everyone had a peaceful Shabbat. And, well, I want to learn Hebrew again. Really. Honestly. And anyway, I hope that you have a good, I have to say, good day in the East Coast. Well, I have spoken with some American Jews in the East Coast, and of course, in the Pacific time, I have to say it's very early in the morning, but it's like 9, right? And in Japan, it's 2 p.m. In Israel, it's 8 p.m. And anyway, this has a Hebrew subtitle. And so I hope that a lot of Hebrew speakers listen to this podcast. Okay, I have to say good night, good morning. Oh my goodness. Well, good night.